London is no stranger to the fog, but rather than roll in, this mist seemed to rise, thick and slow, devouring the dark alleys of Whitechapel from the bottom up. Whitechapel Dark Mist, a Cthulhu by Gaslight mystery.
Welcome back to our Percentile Vice. I'm Steve, that's Emily, that's John, and we are playing through an adventure of our own making for Call of Cthulhu Whitechapel Dark Mist. In the previous session, our two investigators, the Toffer Lady of the Night, Rosalee Harper, and our agency inquiry agent, Joe Carter. Joe Carter.
Carter and Harper.
Oh my God, it's going to be a TV show. Have both found themselves on the scene of a ghastly death. Joe has been summoned by a Scotland Yard detective who he has worked with before to help identify the body as one of the dock workers that is associated with the business Speedwagon Imports that Joe works for. And he identified the body of Thomas Blanton, who has been missing for about 4 weeks. Rosalee, on the other hand, found herself there consoling her young friend Livy, a street prostitute who was found, actually notified police about the body, but she is covered with blood, had a straight razor in her pocket, and unfortunately made some admissions around the police that she did, in fact, know the deceased and had recently argued with him. Livy has been hauled off to the police station as the prime suspect. One thing our investigators noticed about the body was that the torso had been torn open and there were no internal organs left in the torso. As the torso and the body were loaded up into the coroner's cart, Rosalee noticed a strange bug crawl out of the body. Large maggot-like bug with spindly, bony-like spider legs that just slipped out of the body and scampered away. And our two investigators are on the street now, getting to know each other. So, back to you.
Joe, at this point, he's a little perturbed by Reginald. Seems a little lazy and jumping to conclusions, and he knows that if the company keeps losing workers and having to retrain new workers, it's losing money, and
it's a human resources nightmare.
He'd like to find what actually happened here. He doesn't really have anything to go off of because from what he's seeing, doesn't look like your run-of-the-mill knife death, but he's not medically savvy enough to come up with what else it might be, so he's having to rely a bit on what the police come up with, and he's not too happy about that. Takes a moment in his slightly disturbed state and pulls a coin out of his pocket and starts flipping it. And you're looking at him, and he looks pretty deep in thought, mulling things over, trying to figure out his next move.
What is Rosalee doing?
Well, at first she's trying to figure out what kind of coin it is and if it's like a...
I would say you've seen a lot of coins in your day. You're a pretty attractive broad. You'd probably recognize it as a farthing. Not worth a whole lot.
Thank you for clarifying, because Rosalee knew how much that was. Emily did not.
I believe by this time they may not have been in circulation anymore.
Okay. Well, Mr. Carter, I am going to head back to the brothel and see if I can find out if Livy's been seeing this young man for some time, or if he was an acquaintance of the evening. If he's been missing for some time, but he lives in this area, it seems rather strange that he would show up and turn up 6 feet under. So, I think I will be headed that direction. There is a lovely little pub down the way, the Copper Lion. It's on just a little bit further down if you would care to go down there. It's one of my favorite places, but I'll be heading just past that to the corner of New Road to the brothel.
I'm familiar with the place, but my bosses gave me an address for Thomas, the unfortunately deceased fellow, and I think I might go check out his home and see if I can find out anything there. But I will meet you in the Copper Lion later and see if you've learned anything that might be useful.
Certainly. You said the young man's name was Thomas. That might be a little helpful for me trying to, just saying, oh, a gentleman she met tonight is a little bit vague. So.
Thomas Blanton.
Okay. I will check things out on my end. You do hope to find a way to relieve Livy of this predicament. Yes.
Well, I don't believe she was the culprit, and with that being the case, I don't see any need for her to pay the price for what's happened here. With that said, if I find out different, if she is involved in some malicious way, then the cards are going to fall as they may.
Well, I can appreciate your honesty. I can assure you that Livy could not possibly have done this. But yes, please, anything that you find that might help us prove her innocence would be greatly appreciated. I know it can be a little difficult for some people to accept her line of work, our line of work, and I can appreciate your forgivingness.
Work's work. We all work somewhere.
That's very true. So, Copper Lion.
See you there.
For drinks.
So, as you guys say your goodbye, a doorway to one of the hovels on the street opens, and a gentleman walks out. The gentleman's a bit of a stretch, but, old clothes, pants probably tattered around the ankles, heavy work boots, and he turns towards Whitechapel Road. And just looks over his shoulder at you and says, "Oh, the missus says the Ripper's back in operation. What you all learned from them coppers?"
Well, if the Ripper's back in operation, why the hell are you out here?
"Well, I'm going to get me a drink, I am. Fuck the Ripper. You didn't want nothing but ladies anyway. I think I'm pretty safe."
Well, I mean, if you're wanting to fuck him, maybe he's into that shit.
"Hey! I'm looking to fuck somebody up. They're talking to me with no respect for theirs."
Do I know this gentleman?
Might have seen him around. There's a lot of people in this area of town. It's
fair.
Pretty crowded. But, definitely not somebody that would, procure your services.
Certainly.
Doesn't have enough money.
Oh, why don't you take that on down to the pub then? I'll have your missus out in just a minute if you don't quit.
Well, I just asked a question. She's one over here talking about fucking the Ripper.
I will keep your nose where it belongs and keep going.
He grumbles and starts walking off.
They don't mean much by anything. They love good gossip.
Yeah.
I'm going to follow behind the man towards that direction. Not like...
He gets to the corner of this little side road and Whitechapel, and he turns towards the direction that will take him to the Copper Lion. There are several pubs up and down Whitechapel Road.
Okay.
Could be going to the Copper Lion. Might be going to the Rambling Goat.
A rambling goat.
I have to write that down.
Because John's going to want to go. Yeah, so I'm going to head back to the brothel to see if I can find anybody who knows if they have seen her with Thomas previously or if this is a one-off situation that she's found herself in.
And I will head to Blanton's house.
Okay. And you guys could actually walk together south till you get to Commercial Road. And then right off of Commercial Road is Christian Street, which does run north-south. So you could continue heading down that way towards the dock. And you would stop on Christian Street for the no-named building, just referred to by the locals as the brothel. So, unless there's something you guys wanted to do in the meantime or any discussions you want to have, you're at the brothel and you can continue. You got another block and a half or so to get to St. George Street.
Okay. So at the brothel, I'm going to try to find someone in charge who might be kind of keeping tabs on the girls and things that they're doing.
Now, you're familiar with the brothel and some of the people that work in it strictly on a colleague basis.
Right.
You do not work in the brothel or out of the brothel. Is that
Correct.
true?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, so you walk in to the front door, and there's kind of a parlor sitting room. What does it look like?
So I think it's going for like an antique look, but it only looks kind of secondhand. A lot of like falling and understuffed, couches that probably would have been nice brand new, but they've all kind of fallen into disrepair. I imagine a lot of cigarette pipe smoke kind of lingering in the air. A lot of like ashtrays and ornate but cheap like mirrors and things like that. It's got this very much like overly decorated to look nice, but it all kind of looks kind of trashy.
Broke Baroque.
Broke Baroque, exactly. Perfection.
So, yeah, and there's one gentleman sitting on a couch in there. He is smoking mostly just the lingering smell of stale tobacco and beer breath.
Right.
In this place. As you walk in, a little bell that's attached to the door rings. It's pretty, you know the business, right? It just now got dark, and this place is not going to really be hopping until some guys have spent a little more time in the taverns.
Right.
But the bell does summon a very matronly looking lady who comes out. Obviously past working years.
Right. Retired.
Very high-necked Victorian dress, long with, under skirts, and I'm sure I'm not using any of the right
No,
words.
you're right there on it.
And she walks out and looks at you and says, "Well, I don't believe you'll be looking for a job here." She looks you up and down and immediately tags you as a woman that actively fishes for higher level clientele.
Correct. No, not quite. I'm calling because it seems that a mutual acquaintance of ours has found herself in a spot of trouble. Miss Livy.
Oh, Livy, what has she been up to now?
Perhaps we might speak in private.
Yes, very well. She looks over and says, "Jimmy, just you wait a bit. They'll be with you in a minute. It'll be Margie this time." And she takes you back into her office. The furniture in her office is very similar to what's outside. Instead of large red velvety understuffed couches. It's small red velvety understuffed straight back chairs. And she sits you down and says, "All right, so what has Livy gotten herself up to now?"
Well, I happened upon her in the street just down the way by Commercial Road. A young man was found dead in the road, and Livy was alerted the police, but was covered in blood, and now typical coppers think that she's the one who did it. I've tried to talk to them, but they're just not hearing it, and I promised her I would try to help. So I was hoping you may have heard her talk of a young man or seen her go out with a young man tonight by the name of Thomas.
She didn't go out with any young men tonight. I sent her down to work the corner until things became a little more active here. Thomas, you say?
Yeah, Thomas Blanton.
And she flips through some books as if she keeps books, but you can tell she's kind of putting on some airs.
Right.
Let me check the records. Nobody takes it. Right? She was seeing a Thomas quite frequently weeks ago, but he stopped coming around almost a month ago.
A month ago.
Livy was a little upset about that. I think, as you know, all the warnings against it, sometimes these girls start believing the things that John will tell her. And I think maybe Thomas had convinced her he was going to leave his wife and run off with her to a life of happily ever after. No matter how much pain and suffering they go through, they all seem to believe that fairy tale still.
Well, that's a lesson that they have to learn on their own, you know.
She was quite broke up about it, but no, like I said, it's been at least a month since Thomas has been around. I wasn't where his last name was Blanton. We don't use a lot of last names around here.
Certainly not.
But he was medium-sized bloke. Smelled like he worked on the docks. Dark hair, a little long in the back. He slicked it back. It matches the description of the body that you see.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be continuing to try to help young Livy. I've taken quite fondly to her. She's such a sweet young girl. But it might be best if you kept your girls working indoors. It was just not a pretty sight. This young man was very brutally murdered, and I don't know that it's safe out there for your girls to be working the corners. But it's it's up to you, but little concern.
Well, thank you, and we will take that under advisement. We do have a business to run, though.
I understand, but you can't run a business without the girls, so.
Yeah.
But, okay, well, I just wanted to let you know, and thank you for your help. If I find anything out, or if Livy needs anything, I'll, should I let you know, or would you prefer?
So, the coppers have her then?
Yeah, she was detained.
Well, every week, a portion of the girls' earnings goes into a little fund so that we can avoid unpleasant circumstances with the police. And in the morning, somebody will go down there and, post the necessary bails.
Wonderful. My name is Rosalee Harper, by the way. Should you need anything, please.
Oh, Rose, I have heard her speak of her, Rosalee. She's quite fond of you as well.
Yes, she's quite a lovely young lady. I do have a get-together, a date to get to, but thank you for your help. I wanted to just touch base. I know that she works here.
As I say, we will see about Livy in the morning. Sometimes an evening in the lockup teaches more lessons than anything an old woman can tell them.
That's very true. Well, have a good evening. Yeah, thank you. I'll see myself out.
And she walks you to the door and lets you out and closes the door behind you. And you could tell through that whole conversation that she was trying really hard and unsuccessfully to make her voice sound more upscale, more of central London or west side kind of thing, and less of the Cockney East End kind of
Right.
stuff. You're not 3 or 4 steps away from the door when you hear her, having dropped all pretenses. Oi, girls! Stow your asses inside, the Ripper's about again.
Yeah, so I will make my way out and stop and look at Jimmy and have a good evening and keep going.
Jimmy's kind of young, a little shy.
Hmm.
He looks up at you, gets a one-hand quick wave, blushes profusely, and looks back down.
Okay. Well, I'm going to head my way over to the Copper Lion and await my companion for the evening.
So another, 5 or 10 minute walk to do another block and a half, and you find yourself on St. George Street, and following the address, you get to this row of, like, I'd say brownstone houses, but even that's too upscale for what they are. Like, the doors are very close together. You can tell whatever these apartments at, they are very skinny. But they look to be 2 stories. And as you go to knock on the door, you notice next to the door is 2 nameplates. So they're very skinny, and apparently that's 2 apartments, one upstairs and one downstairs, like really packed together. Low income housing here. And in fact, the front door there, as you go to knock on it or whatever, when you first hit it, it just kind of like bangs and rattles in the jam, and you realize there's nothing. It's not catching on anything that you could just open it. And it opens up into a hallway. The end of the hallway is a set of stairs that goes up to a single door, and right inside the hallway is a door. So 1st floor apartment, 2nd floor apartment.
Do I know which one he lives in?
The information that the company gave you had it as apartment A, which is the 1st floor apartment.
Okay, I'm gonna knock on the door.
Okay. Make me a listen roll.
34 against a 40.
Okay, so as you're knocking on the door, you can hear a baby crying inside. You can hear another child that must be a little bit older screaming about her dolly, and a woman's voice just yelling at everybody to shut the hell up. You knock on the door, it takes a minute, and the door opens, and there's this very small, mousy, haggard-looking woman. She's got a baby on her hip and is actively using the other hand to keep a toddler from scooting out into the hallway past her legs. What can I do for you?
Mrs. Blanton, I presume?
That's right. I'm Mrs. Blanton.
May I speak to you privately?
This is as private as it gets right now. You've gone and left me with these 2 rugrats, and it's nothing but heartache on my side of things. But you're welcome to come in. Can't offer you no tea. Ain't got the money for it.
Well, I'm actually here to have a short chat with you about your husband, Thomas.
Thomas ain't good for nothing, leaving his family like he did 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, I work with Speedwagon Imports, and they're...
Like that company that just worked him to death his whole life. I'm still wondering he ran away. It wasn't from me, I'm sure.
I'm a fucking delight. Sorry.
Maybe you would like to play the part of this lady because you just nailed it.
No, thank you.
So, what can I do for you, Mr. What did you say your name was?
Joe Carter.
Mr. Carter, please come in. And she closes the door. And what news of Thomas?
I don't have any news. I was wondering if you could give me any information you might have about where you think he might be, if he was hanging out with anybody or...
Well, he didn't get out much. Just then they weren't paying him enough because he was never bringing home much money. Barely enough to pay the rent and keep food on the table.
No. He didn't exactly have a high-paying job, but it did keep food on the table, so...
Well, that's all it did. How he's ever supposed to make something better for ourselves. Roll a no roll.
I know nothing. 93 against a 55.
Okay.
Well, can't tell me anything about what he did other than work and being here?
He liked to spend his nights out carousing with his buddies, he did.
Can I get the names of his buddies and where I might find
tell
them?
me.
Do you know what pub he liked to frequent, or...
I think he went to a few of them, but I think his favorite was probably the Rambling Goat up there on Whitechapel Road. It's a long way to go, but I always thought, well, it's his own fault to have to walk that far home stumbling in the streets, always coming home drunk and smelling of sweet wines.
All right, well, I'll leave you to it, miss, and...
All right, how long's a fella got to be before the company's going to say, I was a widow and I'm due his pension?
I imagine it'll be real soon, but I'm not on the legal end of things, so... You'll have to patiently wait for those folks to finish their jobs.
All right, well, if you find him, tell him don't come home without some money.
I certainly will.
But you'll find anybody he was rolling with the Rambling Goat. That's probably where he was at.
Okay. So I will walk out and head towards the Copper Lion.
Okay. You guys eventually meet up at the Copper Lion, and crowd's starting to get bigger in here. And you've watched a few folks, and the drinks are starting to flow, and dart games are going on, and bragging going on, and discussions about the local football club going on. Yeah, so.
When I see Mr. Carter walk through the door, oh, Mr. Carter, right over here. Pat my little side of the table.
How's it going, miss? Did you find anything out?
Sort of. So, can I get you a drink?
Sure.
Are you sitting at a table or at the bar?
A table.
Okay. So after a minute, a barmaid comes up. Quite familiar with her. You've seen her many times. Know her only by her first name, though. What is it?
Tippy. I don't know. I spaced. I blanked.
I like Tippy. It's pretty good.
I like to think she has like a little jar up on the shelf that says "Tips for Tippy."
If only she could write.
If only she could write or read. Tippy, could you get my friend here a pint, please?
She nods and smiles and heads off to get a pint.
So I went down to the brothel where Livy works, and the matron there did say that she had been seeing a young man by the name of Thomas, but that he disappeared about 4 weeks ago. Does that sound about right?
That's what I'm hearing.
apparently he had, spun her a story like most gentlemen do about he was going to leave his wife and his kids and take her off to live a life of fancy and, true love and all that nonsense. But she hadn't seen him in the last several weeks. I assume wherever he was, she didn't know about it, but apparently they sent her out to work the corner of Whitechapel Road and New Road today, and somehow, in the course of the evening, she wound up in the center of that street with him, so somewhere between Whitechapel and New Road Corner and Commercial Corner is where her and Mr. Thomas seem to have met up.
Well, his wife didn't know anything other than he frequented the Rambling Goat.
The Rambling Goat. I have been in that pub. It's not my favorite, but it's a little rowdy. Mostly the dock workers. I could see why he'd go there. How did she take the news?
What news?
Her husband is dead.
Yeah, that's not my job.
Oh, my apologies. But yeah, so, did she have any idea as to where her husband may have been these last few weeks?
Nope.
Nothing? Well, I suppose we could go talk to some of the dock workers down there, but, they did say they were going to post bail for Libby in the morning. So hopefully, we can find something that will alleviate this accusation on her.
You want to head to the Rambling Goat now, or you want to wait a little while, or?
No, I mean, you just got your glass. Did you want to finish it?
I'm gonna turn it up one chug, plop it back on the table.
Impressive. Certainly. Yes, certainly we can head that way. And while we walk, you can tell me a bit about yourself.
Joe, make me a no roll.
$26 versus a 55, so that's a hard success.
Yep. Okay, so you know enough about the police and the criminal justice system that when Rosalee tells you that the brothel's going to go bail Livy out in the morning, the chances of that happening are
Slim.
pretty slim. If there's going to be bail set, it's going to be set by a judge, and it'll probably be pretty high, at least till I get to the bottom of things.
Like they're expecting she got picked up on a normal prostitute charge,
Right.
and they're going to pay off somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
as you're leaving the bar, you hear a guy in the back go, "Oh, I've seen the body, I'm telling you. It's Jack the Ripper is back again, and he's tearing up my neighborhood. And if you all you put the drinks down, get that back and save your families is what you got to do." And another guy says, "Jacko, you're being a dumbass again. Ripper ain't been around for 4 years. You said it was a guy in the street. Ripper didn't ever rip on no guys. He only ripped on the gals." And they start discussing and cussing. The next thing you know, a fight breaks out, and it spills out into the street as you guys are trying to get out the door. I mean, you kind of like have to do that,
Edge by it.
scoot by real quick to get out as this thing blows out. And half the bar is ready to jump on Ripper Mania, and the other half of the bar is like, you guys are freaking idiots. And the street and this section of town has gotten really, really foggy. Kind of misty right where you are, but thick fog rolling in from down the street. And you can almost see the wall of the thick fog. It's a real pea soup kind of thing. And it starts getting in closer to this area. And Jacko and this scrawny little dude who called him an idiot are squaring off And from the fog, the fog kind of stretches out in this long tendril, about 15 feet long, 10 feet high, 10 feet wide, stretches out almost like it was cognizant and envelops Jacko. And then you hear his screams and his shoes dragging across the cobblestones. The fog moves back to its original position. Jacko is gone. Make sanity rolls for me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I failed that.
I rolled a 0-1.
This dude's a fucking weatherman. This is something fog does all the time.
When the relative humidity and the precipitation in the area
It's really quite a nice
with
phenomenon.
a crosswind in such a way that
And that dude's just a dick.
give me a 1d4.
1d4. Oh,
because
goodness.
in your mind, that fog was just sentient for a minute and reached out and plucked this guy off the street.
Oh, 1, so 89.
Okay. So everybody in the street just stops and stares at the fog that was moving in and then reached out and grabbed Jacko. And as they stare at the fog, just slowly starts subsiding and like turning corners down alleys and whatnot. And then get back to just the light mist that was on the road when you walked in.
Did that young man just got snatched by the fog? It reached out, it grabbed him, and it took him.
He probably was just trying to get out of the fight.
By controlling the fog?
No, by using the fog to dip into and make his getaway.
No. The fog literally reached out. It went out of its way like 15 yards to feet, something to grab him. And he's just gone.
First, you were talking about little bugs with legs, and now you're talking about fog grabbing people. I think you might want to go get a good night's rest and hit it this tomorrow.
Crowd is getting really edgy. There's a little murmuring going on, similar to the conversations you guys are having. Oh, did you see that? I didn't see nothing. Jacko just run away.
I'm telling you. I watched that fog reach out like a tunnel and just envelop him, and then he was screaming. Like, who would run away screaming from nothing into fog? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Apparently he took a good hit.
Maybe I do need some sleep.
For all I know, I'm not great of hearing, but he may have yelled, "That's my purse," and took off. I don't know.
Let's just go. I want to get off the streets. I don't want to be out here.
The crowd has started to quiet down. There's still some grumbling. Nothing you would consider arguments. What might have been arguments kind of subsided into debate and just subsided into general talking. The people who think they saw what you saw are starting to be more liking the idea of believing Jacko just run off, and they start filing back into the bar. Thoughts of fights gone and beer returns. And it's just one old guy leaning up against the wall. He says, "Well, that'll make 5, won't it?" Tips his hat to you and walks inside.
multiple men have gone missing. Men? All men? Have gone missing in the last several weeks. I don't know what that was, but I do not want to stick around to find out. Let's just go to the Rambling Goat and get this night over with, because I am ready for my bed and a cocktail and some sleep.
By the way, in case you didn't notice or figured out, Jacko was the guy that came out of the house on the side street when you guys were still talking. The one that had the small altercation said he was going down. And he was yelling in the bar about, I seen the body, and
no, I didn't catch that.
Rivers back started the whole argument, and Jacko is that same guy.
Yikes. You ready to head to the Rambling Goat?
Yep.
Okay, you get to the Rambling Goat. On this particular night, the Rambling Goat is a much better place than the Copper Lion. It's pretty quiet in here. There's the normal hum of conversation going around, but everything is subdued. People are having their drinks. There's no talk of bodies or fog or ripper or anything like that. They're all clueless to it. You walk in, big burly guy behind the bar with a dirty apron wrapped around his waist and used to be white hand towel slung over his, laying across his shoulder. Hey, what do you have?
I'll have an ale. What about you?
Yeah, a pint would be fine. Thank you.
He goes and pours two, sets them in front of you.
How much?
5 penny.
I'm just going to take £2 out, and I'm going to say, so we're in here about a fellow you might know, Thomas Blanton. You name ring any bells? And I'm going to just make sure he sees the £2 under my hand. I'm going to lift it up and put it back down real quick. And
yeah, I know Thomas. I haven't seen him. What is he's one of the missing?
I've heard that too. What kind of people did he run with?
Do I have a lot of friends?
Up
I'd like
here.
to come in and get a little liquored up and, go see a girl.
Is he the type to drink alone up here? No.
Oh, no. Georgie in the back there, I've thrown a game of darts or shot some pool with him once or twice. But like I said, mostly it's just come and slam down a few and go off to see his little hottie.
Anything, and he's going to pause and stroke his chin. Anything interesting happen around the time he supposedly went missing?
Oh, well, I remember the day everybody was saying, where's Tommy at? And we all thought about it. He ain't been the night before. Slammed a few and went off to do his thing. It was got awful fog that night, kind of like this one's shaping up to be. And he left like he always does, but he didn't come back for the next day.
Can I look over at Rosalee, and she doesn't seem to have any questions, so I'm going to lift up my hand and slide the £2 over and go see if Georgie
Porgy
is around. And I'll pick up my pint and take it with me.
Is £2 a lot?
Compared to pennies, I think so.
Yeah, if 2 beers were 5 pennies, yeah. I actually looked it up, but it's like...
It's hard. We don't do money in our games. Yeah. We've talked about this.
I think this is why Europeans are so into the metric system, because they had to deal with British
all their fucking money
for
is
so long, and it's crazy.
I'll look it up and give you better answers the next time. But
6 pence and
there's a lot of pennies in a pound,
pennies.
but I don't think it's 100. It's weird.
Yeah.
So if we can just combine our money system and their measurement system, the world would be okay.
So as you walk towards the back, you hear one of the guys at the bar who was able to catch a glimpse of everything. Yo, Bango, that was a hell of a tip you got. In case you didn't catch that, because I know I tend to mumble, especially when I'm trying to do Cockney. The bartender's name was Banger.
Banger?
Yo, Banger, that's a hell of a tip you got.
Oh, I didn't catch it the first time.
I didn't pick that out as his name, but...
Yeah, because it could have been just, like street slang for you dumbass sausage boy.
Yeah, he did look a little pudgy, He's kind of poured into his suit.
Maybe that's why they call him Banger. He looks like a sausage.
A little sausage man. So we'll head back and try to find Georgie.
All right. So kind of in the back room, there's a billiards table. A few folks playing around, maybe 3 or 4 folks back here.
Hey, any of you fellas Georgie?
Yeah, I'm Georgie. What's it to you?
I'm gonna just pull out the badge that shows I'm an inquiry agent and put it back in. I'm working
Oh,
for...
you one of them Torino types, isn't you?
Yeah, I sure am, and I'm here on behalf of Speedwagon Imports. Friend of yours, I'm hearing, named Thomas Blanton.
Oh, Tommy boy, I haven't seen him in a while. Tell you, word around town is he's like the first of the missing. Did you know there's like 4 guys missing now?
I've heard. So,
Same for old Tommy, but he probably just has some debts he's running away from. Spending all his money on booze and women,
Is that what you think?
So I do.
Any other conversation you might have had with him that would indicate somebody was looking for him for money or...
It never was about much, It's about having a few pints and a shot or 2, and then off to see his livy. And, I don't know, maybe there's, maybe we've got some muscle down there at the brothel and he run up a tab.
Gonna look over at Rosalee.
No, I don't think he ran up a tab at the brothel. But, it's a pleasure to make your acquaintance there, Georgie.
Hello, miss.
Hi.
You a bit upscale for this place?
Oh, just a bit, but I still know how to have a bit of fun around these parts. So tell me, was Tommy acting strange or unlike himself leading up to him going missing?
No, just your normal Tommy. Come in, slap a few back, go down the round, slap one around.
Sorry. Any chance you might know anything about what happened right around the time that he went missing? I think something about the fog. Was it very foggy that when he was?
Oh, it was a real pea soup. It was. Last night he was in here. He goes to the left. He says he's heading down to see Livy, and well, you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. It was that foggy that night. Off he goes, heading toward the brothel.
Was anybody here with him that night? Anybody he was hanging out with, maybe playing billiards or darts or?
Just all of us guys. He never comes with nobody. He walks in, hangs around for a bit. Maybe fancies a game.
Do you know any of the other young men that have gone missing?
Can't say as I do. It's not like they've been posting names about town, but all of us know. 4 of them. What are the police doing about? Nothing. Can't even put a sign up saying, here's the guys' names. But we're on streets usually a lot better than the word from the police, so yeah, it is. They just about make everything appear like it's okay, isn't they?
Oh, certainly. Well, do you have anything else there, Mr. Carter?
No, I think we might be done here.
Well, thank you for your time, Georgie. I appreciate it.
Gonna take a slip of paper out and write my address on it and my name and hand it to him and say, well, if you hear anything else about any of the missing or remember anything you might think we should know, let me know. I know you're not happy with the police handling of the situation, but I'm trying to figure out what happened because obviously it's...
Well, normally I'd take a car like this from a Torino tough like you and just throw it in the trash, but it's nice to see somebody's finally giving a damn about a missing around here.
Well,
So I'll hold on to this.
I live here too. I don't want to see any more people dead in the streets.
You live here? Could have sworn I noticed a hint of the Liverpool in your talking.
Yeah, I'm originally from there, but
All right.
stay around here now.
Well, the East End United's going to kick Liverpool's ass on Saturday, right?
We'll see about that.
All right, well, come on by and, maybe give me a copy or something for my prediction once you see how your boys fall.
All right.
I was going to say come by and watch the game, but...
Yeah.
So you guys walk out into the street. It's getting darker. The gas street lamps along Whitechapel Road are lit. You can see the line of them. Which way are y'all headed?
I'm going to head home. I don't know which way that is, but home to my apartment that my credit rating allows me to have. It's not a nice one, but it is one.
And I'm going to assume that maybe you've got a company-provided flat down around the docks.
Probably.
Sounds good.
Or an office or something that I sleep in.
Yeah.
You strike me as the kind of dude who sleeps in his office.
I think that's more apropos.
Apropos.
Okay, so you guys are both heading kind of south, right? You walk down Whitechapel Road until you can find a north-south road to hang down, and you pass by some shops. There's flowers, cuts and chops, obviously a butcher place. And there's a place called Curiosities and Collectibles, you read on the sign. And you pass by Flanders Fineries, just the shop that you sometimes go in. And eventually you get to your modest apartment on a road that links between Whitechapel Road and Commercial Street. You've got a little bit further to go. As you get onto your road, you notice really thick fog coming down the road. And it is moving at about the speed you were walking. And you'll probably reach your door about the time the fog does.
Mr. Carter, I don't mean to be forward, but I am not going in that fog. Can I come by your office? Would that be okay? After what happened earlier, I can't. I don't want to be snatched up by the fog like Mr. Jacko was earlier.
Are we going to have to go through the fog to get to my office?
No, there's some side alleys you could take and find a different route.
Okay. All right, that's fine. I've got a bed and a nice chair. I can sleep in the chair and you can have the bed tonight.
Thank you very much.
So you turn on a little side alley, and you guys are pretty familiar with these streets. Side alley or two, and you can find another main road that is heading down. As you turn down, you get about 10 feet down, you see this thick, cottony fog come rumbling down the street that your apartment is, and it starts to billow into the alleyway that you guys are at, and it blooms into the alley, just like rolling over itself along the walls and the floor as it's coming down the alley, and that's where we'll stop for the night.
We're gonna get eaten by fog.
Thanks everybody for joining us. This is Whitechapel Dark Mist with our investigators Rosalee Harper and Joe Carter. Look at me learning names and stuff. Trying to figure out what caused the death of poor Thomas Blanton, and is Livy responsible? Thanks everybody.
Thank you. Bye.